sometimes the end justifies the means, which is my excuse for kicking a bunch of Ewoks into orbit. What? There was an achievement. And although there are many video game baddies whose objectives don't justify their actions, some villains are 50 shades of morally grey, presenting persuasive arguments or complex motivations that on some level we actually kinda agree with? Maybe their actions really are for the greater good, or maybe they're just a cowardly penguin avoiding the wrath of a space vampire. Consider these 7 villains who had a good point when you think about it. Oh, and beware spoilers for these following games.
I am doing my duty. It is the right thing to do. I am a machine. I cannot do wrong.
Yes, you can.
I am a machine. Can a calculator commit evil? Can a watch do good? You are projecting onto me the personality you wish, whether that is good or evil. But I am just a speaking clock, and at the third stroke the time will be 3:41 and 55 seconds.
The Turing test was designed to tell if an artificial intelligence could pass as a human being, back before artificial intelligence was mostly used to generate videos of Will Smith eating spaghetti. It's also a 2016 sci-fi puzzler which follows an unfortunate engineer named Ava sent to investigate the worrying disappearance of a space exploration crew on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons.
Open the door.
Welcome to Europa.
Ava is guided through an abandoned base by the Technical Operations Machine, otherwise known as Tom.
I wonder why the ground team has changed these rooms.
I have a hypothesis. These rooms are Turing tests.
Tom asks Ava to solve a series of complex puzzles to reach the imperiled ground team, which doesn't feel massively efficient for you as an emergency responder, but there you go.
Could we take a more direct way to the ground team?
Apart from Tom's lack of urgency, we don't have any other reason to suspect him of being, you know, a bit of a wrong'un. Until that is, we hear this voice on the intercom.
This is the voice of Sarah Brooke, acting commander of the Europa mission. I know you can hear me, Ava. I counsel you caution. Your presence here is much like your AI friend. Engineered.
Wait, what? I'm confused. Can you spell it out for me? I see. Tom has indeed been controlling Ava this entire time due to a chip implanted in her hand. And as the game reaches its conclusion, you'll discover that mind control isn't the full extent of his scheming. He's killed off most of the crew himself, tampering with their food supply.
Apparently our robot overlord wants us to starve to death now.
Locking them outside the base in uninhabitable conditions.
Tom, open the door!
The door's locked!
Open the door!
And ensuring those who remain are trapped here permanently with no chance of returning to Earth.
These people can't be left here to die.
Yes, they can.
But this murdering AI hasn't just gone mad for the sake of it. Soon we learn the crew had discovered something that might have horrific consequences for the entirety of humankind.
2 weeks ago, we discovered an organism here. Buried in this ice, we found an organism that repairs DNA. A cure for aging. A cure for death, immortality.
An alien organism buried in the ice, you say? Has no one seen the thing? A suspicious DNA regenerating organism is a bioethical minefield. Not only is immortality itself a Pandora's box of epic proportions, we also have no idea of the consequences of introducing this alien matter into Earth's fragile ecosystem.
Do you know what happens when this organism attaches itself to a growing child? Do you know what happens when this organism attaches itself to a cancerous cell? No, you do not. You are naive.
The crew already have the organism in their bloodstream, so if they were allowed to return to Earth, it could produce incurable diseases, untold cancers, or gruesome mutations for innocent people.
Selfish action could create an extinction event.
And while Tom's treatment of the crew was extreme, we can totally understand the logic behind his solution to the infamous trolley problem.
Would you kill a few to save all of humanity? Or would you damn all of humanity to save a few?
It may be a homicidal AI, but it makes a point. And probably a decent video of Will Smith eating spaghetti, if you asked.
It's been 67 years since the world broke apart. 67 years since Lumiere was flung into the sea. 67 years since she appeared and painted her first number.
If you haven't played the brilliant Clair Obscur Expedition 33, stop watching immediately and go play it. Or just skip ahead a couple of minutes because we're about to ruin the ending. In the world of Clair Obscur, there's a distant monolith with a number painted on it. Each year the number decreases by 1, and each year everyone who is that number of years old turns into confetti and dies. The entity known as the Paintress is the one painting the numbers, so you assume she is the villain until your party tracks her down and you learn the truth.
That's her. The Paintress.
In a shock twist, it turns out that the entire world is a painted canvas, and everyone in it has been created by the Descendre family, who were a bunch of godlike artists.
My family, a facsimile of yours, and this world, a mirror, painted by your mother, the Paintress, to stave off her grief.
In a second twist, just as shocking, your character Maëlle turns out to actually be one of the Descendre family, a girl called Alicia who entered the canvas and got painted over as a brand new person.
You're about to be reborn in this world as one of Aline's creations. Have fun.
And in a third, even more shocking twist, it turns out that the dreaded Paintress is Alicia's mum Aileen, who wasn't wiping out the inhabitants of this world at all. The Paintress was actually fighting to save them, painting the monolith each year as a friendly heads up to anyone about to become a pile of petals.
On her monolith, she paints a warning for us all.
Thanks, I guess, but if mum is trying to stop everyone from being killed, who's doing all the killing?
Your father.
Dad? Yep, the one trying to destroy the painted world is Renoir, father of the Descendre family. So that settles it, and Renoir is the big bad unforgivable villain, right? Not quite.
Of course. It's easier for you to think that, isn't it? Easier to betray us if I'm the villain.
When Renoir's real-life son Verso died tragically, his wife Aileen sunk into a deep depression, spending all her time in this canvas painted by her son. Consumed by grief, she even painted a version of her own family so she could see Verso every day.
We painted hundreds of canvas worlds, pushing the very boundaries of creation.
Frustrated with losing his wife to a massive painted game of The Sims, Renoir entered the canvas as a concerned husband to try and bring her back to reality. And Renoir isn't trying to destroy the canvas just because he wants his wife to touch grass. The canvas is actually killing her. She's losing her life, descending into madness, and falling prey to the physical deterioration that occurs when artists spend too long inside their creations.
Once we erase the canvas, we won't have to worry anymore.
She's home now. Why?
You know your mother. Verso painted this canvas. It contains a piece of his soul. She'll never willingly part with it.
No.
For the sake of the living, we must part with the dead.
While the final heart-wrenching choice of whether or not to destroy the canvas is ultimately left to the player, we can't help but feel that Renoir has a really solid point. As wonderful as it is in the painted world, is he wrong to try and stop it from consuming his whole family? Is he wrong to turn everyone into a bunch of flower petals? And am I wrong to have looked up the other ending on YouTube to check I made the right decision? I think not.
People say that I'm crazy. But when you wake up in the morning, you look at the same news that I do.
If this list was 7 villains we think are 2 sandwiches, a pipe of Pringles, and a bottle of soda short of a picnic, we could easily fill it with baddies from the Far Cry games. But one of them, Far Cry 5's psychotic preacher, Joseph Seed, deserves a spot on this list not because he was any less evil or ruthless than the rest, but because his doomsday prophecy was upsettingly bang on.
Something is coming. You can feel it, can you?
As the father of an extremist religious cult, Joseph had imminent apocalypse firmly on his bingo card, believing that he was chosen by God to lead his followers to the safety of Eden's Gate, where they'd be safe from the whole end of the world thing. He also foretold that people would come to take away his freedom, but I think saying that as the cops are literally walking in to arrest you doesn't really count as a prophecy.
They will come. They will try to take from us, take our guns, take our freedom.
And after he's arrested, Joseph prophesies that God won't let him be incarcerated. Lo and behold, the police helicopter taking him to jail crashes, but that might have had something to do with the deranged cultist throwing himself into the chopper blades.
I told you that God wouldn't let you take me.
At any rate, you could still reasonably disregard Joseph Seed's prediction of impending nuclear apocalypse as the ravings of a manipulative madman, right up until the finale of the game.
And pour from the vials the wrath of God upon the earth.
It is finished, child.
Whether Joseph had genuine divine intel, a lucky guess, or had been following increasingly volatile geopolitics on the news, he winds up being right about the nuclear apocalypse. Which is more accurate than 100% of apocalypse predictions to date, so I suppose we simply must hand it to this now very smug preacher man. You and he survive the nukes, and while you're hunkering down in an underground shelter, contemplating several years of canned food and Scrabble with this guy, he has one more prophecy to share.
You're my family. And when the world is ready to be born anew, we will step into the light.
And thanks to the sequel Far Cry New Dawn, this prediction also comes true, as many years later Joseph leads the last of his flock to form New Eden, in a world that is indeed reborn with a super bloom of post-apocalyptic flora and a healthy uprising of viciously mutated fauna. Damn it, Joseph, you could have warned us about the radioactive bears.
Imagine for a moment you're chilling at home when some stranger bursts in and starts eating all of your stuff. Oh, and they're going wah 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 wah. You'd probably call the police or chase this stuff-eating jerk out of your humble abode. And as absurd as that situation is to you and I, it's a harrowing reality for Blinky, Pinky, Inky and Clyde. Also known as the ghosts from arcade classic title Pac-Man. The ghost roommates are literally out here minding their own business, hanging out in whatever creepy maze this is they're renting, when a big yellow circle charges in and starts nomming all their precious dots. Oh, and why do they need the dots? Why do I need a Garrus body pillow? Nobody's business. And then the entire world decides this chomping little menace deserves to be heralded as a legend in gaming culture, while our 4 spooky friends get labelled as the villains. And sure, there's 4 of them versus 1 hungry intruder, but that doesn't make Pac-Man the victim, given how happily he turns his monstrous appetite on them given the opportunity. Clyde! No! While we don't condone the ghostly violence towards the alleged hero, you have to admit they are protecting their property. Can't ghosts be allowed to literally rest in peace? I'm sure Pac-Man wouldn't be thrilled if the ghosts burst into his living room and tried to eat… What is it that ghosts eat? Oh, souls, according to this. Well, there you go. So the next time you hop on an arcade machine in 1983 and start gobbling pellets, spare a thought for those poor spooks who were having a quiet night in watching Andor and… Hey, what's that sound? Oh God, he's here. Hide the dots!
Still close. Still close.
They say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but actually, the cover is the best way to quickly judge a book. That's where the title is written, and the author, and sometimes there's a picture that helps. Anyway, case in point, Chris Walker in Outlast looks like a terrifying monster, and is one.
Little pig.
See? From the moment foolhardy reporter and camcorder owner Miles Upshur steps foot inside the horrifying Mount Massive Asylum, this hulking, half-naked brute is hunting him down.
You're here
It's wise to give Walker a wide berth, hiding in lockers, creeping under beds, and taking any opportunity you can to sneak around him. If he spots you, be prepared to leg it, and if he catches you... Ah, not my head! I need that for seeing out of, and talking through! But Walker isn't like the rest of the deranged inmates at Mount Massive, not because he isn't dangerous, because he is, and not because he isn't a homicidal maniac suffering from severe psychosis, because he is. What sets him apart is that he's trying to do the right thing. Walker was originally a military policeman and later a war veteran suffering from PTSD. After receiving some psychotherapy of questionable quality at a clinic owned by the shady Murkoff Corporation, Walker brutally murdered 3 people and kept their heads as trophies. Murkoff covered up the murders and threw Chris Walker into the Mount Massive Asylum to be extravagantly experimented on. These experiments turned him into the noseless beefcake monster we see roaming the halls. What we don't see is that this deranged security guard is working to contain a much greater threat, namely the Wall Rider. Coming from somewhat out of left field, the Wall Rider is a devastatingly powerful entity composed of tiny nanomachines manifested by Murkoff's experiment on the tortured human psyche. In short, it is something immensely dangerous, which your boy Chris is determined to prevent getting out. When we finally reach the underground lab housing the Wall Rider's current host, Walker is waiting for us like a diligent bouncer outside of a nightclub, only for the Wall Rider to swoop in and turn him into a gory smoothie. Glad we got that on camera. And of course, even though Miles tries to save the day by switching off the existing host's life support, it's all to no avail because the Wall Rider makes Miles the new host and escapes the facility, killing everything in its path.
You have become the host. Jesus God, what is that thing?
We don't approve of his decapitation-happy methods, but my god was Chris Walker onto something in not wanting the Wall Rider set loose on the world. And if he'd sat us down to explain himself instead of ripping our head off, we might have listened to him.
Just about every school has a big mean bully type and a rule-following snitch type, but they're not often the same person who carries a big sword around. And yet Balam Garden in Final Fantasy VIII is a military academy where teens train in the art of monster slaying, sword dueling and sorcery, with those students who graduate going on to become mercenaries known as the Seeds. Here at Balam, one cocky lad you wouldn't want to be paired with for a group project is Cipher Almasy, the self-elected head of the disciplinary committee. Together with his entourage, Cipher dishes out unfair punishments, detentions, and presumably lots of wedgies. And if you hurry Cipher, I think I saw some kids playing with some illegal Beyblades over there. If we must defend this guy, and we must, then we have to share his key character motivation, to achieve his basically noble childhood dream of becoming a sorceress's knight, a loyal warrior who fights by the side of a righteous spellcaster defending her people. Well, at least now he can stop stealing my lunch money. Cipher's dream was inspired by a movie he once saw, where a heroic knight shielded a sorceress from a dragon, fueling his high-minded ambition of being a protector of the innocent. I guess there are worse dreams to pursue. Elon just made a kung fu robot. But while Cipher had a decent goal, he hitches his wholesome ambition to the wrong sorceress. He joins forces with the mighty sorceress Dedede, who, it transpires, is possessed by a much bigger, badder, scarier sorceress named Ultimisia. Cipher does some pretty shady stuff on behalf of his sorceress boss, including kidnapping his former love interest Renoir. Even his two besties, Fujin and Raijin, turn their back on him, claiming he's totally sold out and that they don't want to hang out now he's all evil and stuff. Yeah, Cipher, I'd say you used to be cool, but we both know that's not true. While this angsty teenager does find himself on the wrong side of history, he's not a purely evil jerk out to cause harm or take over the world. It's Cipher's unwavering devotion to his chivalrous ideal that allows Ultimisia to manipulate him into doing dark deeds and furthering her plans. Had he encountered a nice sorceress instead, things could have worked out very differently. Still, the guy can dream. Please don't.
Since the early 90s, King Dedede has been Kirby's arch-rival. And a penguin. The gluttonous self-appointed King of Dreamland does have a track record of villainy. In Kirby's Dreamland, he steals the stars. In Kirby's Block Ball, he steals stars again. And in Kirby's Tilt and Tumble, he commits tax fraud. Just kidding, he totally steals the stars again. But in 1993's Kirby's Adventure, King Dedede is actually less greedy thief and more well-intentioned monarch trying to protect his kingdom. It all starts when he steals the Star Rod, the magical artifact that powers the Fountain of Dreams. That is undeniably a bad start, but stick with me here. Rather than using the fantastical Star Rod for his own gain, he breaks it into pieces and gives it to his trusted underlings, which leaves the people of Dreamland unable to dream. Again, I know it looks bad. Jumping to the obvious conclusion, our hero Kirby assumes the cruel king is up to his usual mischief and sets about finding pieces of the Star Rod to reassemble the device and restore everyone's ability to dream. But as Kirby goes to put the magic rod back in its rightful place, a terrified Dedede begs him not to. Well, no time to reflect on that. Kirby goes ahead and restores the rod, and sure enough, the moment he does, all hell breaks loose, and the game's true villain enters the chat. This is a being called Nightmare, which you'll agree is a lot more intimidating a name than Dedede. This turn of events prompts Dedede to launch Kirby into outer space to sort things out, because clearly Kirby should have listened, and this is totally his problem now. Nightmare's plan was to use the Star Rod to invade the dreams of this world's inhabitants, spreading fear and terror across the land. Like Freddy Krueger, if he looked more Waluigi and could go in space. On the other hand, all Dedede did was shatter the rod to prevent Nightmare from achieving his goal. A creepy space vampire or a giant penguin with a mallet? I know who I'd side with. Upon defeating the real big bad, Kirby realizes that while the king's solution wasn't perfect, he was acting in the best interests of Dreamland itself, which sets the duo on their path to becoming iconic frenemies. All's well that ends well. I'm sure Dedede will be better behaved in the future. He's gonna steal more stars, isn't he?
So there are some baddies in games that kind of had a point, or like, you know, they had good intentions, they just, you know, didn't do it very well, and so things went bad. But can you think of any more? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to see more examples, there are some videos over on Outside Xbox's video here to one of those. And if you want to watch more videos from Outside Xtra, there's a linky link here. If you want to support us even further, give us a like, subscribe. My tummy is just making so many noises today. Please support us on Patreon so I can stop my tummy making noises. And I shall see you in the next video. Bye!